So our approach to this project was to understand the semiotics attached with religious architecture and separate it from this pervasive image of what architecture forms or shape should be associated with a specific religion. Shanti Sadan is a place for worship and service. The project is based in Mysore, on the outskirts of Mysore actually, in a layout which already had an existing hospice. And the project is commissioned by Christian congregation based out of Mysore called Sisters of Saint Anne Luzern, and they wanted sort of an extension of their existing facility built on this trapezoidal site which has already an existing hospice building, and that's the site boundary. Now we have the road over here and the north is right there. So the site already had an existing structure which was in a state of disrepair and quite old. So they wanted to bring that down and rebuild a facility which will accommodate, few nuns over there who were already living in this existing hospice building, and there were a few students as well who needed to be accommodated in a dormitory. So the brief given to us was to design a formation house. They wanted to keep the building very simple, and the way we approached the project was to reflect in our own design the austerity and simplicity of the life of these sisters. The site had a lot of these existing trees and we just wanted to work with them. We retained most of the trees around. We oriented our accommodation facilities along this north-south axis. We sort of detached and pushed the chapel right amidst this grove of trees. So it was, in a way, metaphorically, we thought it will be nice to separate the chapel from the main accommodation facility. We created these small courtyards, 2 of them, and we introduced other functions like a small office here, a staircase over there, and of course we needed to connect it to the existing hospice building there. Now on the ground floor we had a small office again and 2 rooms for these sisters, and we had the dining space and a kitchen. So what we did is we added another layer in front of our actual built mass. What it does is that it creates that sort of an apron in front of the the proposed design, and also helps us in sort of creating this play of light and shadow through these porous perforated brick screen. On the hindsight, this entire design, the language what we used over here got quite a bit of an influence of certain imageries what I had in my head through my visits to Ajanta and Ellora cave a few years ago, and my visit to Durga temple at Aihole. One of the concerns by the client was that the current accommodation in the adjacent building becomes quite hot. So we decided to open up the internal areas which will allow this cross ventilation. So on the first floor again we have a classroom in this corner and another 2 more rooms over there here, and there is a dormitory over here with a common toilet for the students or the girls who were living here. And this was the corridor which we just connected it through the staircase. So on the first floor there is this sick room, small area, and we have a sort of a storage right next to it. Conceptually, what we thought that this entire linear mass will have a vault roof, which will sort of help in mitigating the heat. Just to give a little contrast to the entire massing, we've got two towers. One is over this small office, and the other one is right over this chapel. We came up with this idea of RCC vault, and suddenly we realized that we don't have a place for water tank. So what we decided that we will mount the water tank right over this office and treat it like the church spires. The vaults kind of create this heightened spatial experience, apart from mitigating the summer heat of Mysore. The entire structure is load-bearing structure. That will definitely cut down the cost on the steel and concrete. And we were of course concerned about how to build this vault. Initially we wanted to definitely try with a brick vault, but the span became quite large. It's almost 5.5 meters, close to 5.5 meters. So that's why we decided not to try a brick vault. We went with RCC. We've cladded this vault with China mosaic to reflect the summer heat. In the front, what we've done is to get this sort of a filigree, like beautiful play of light and shadow, because this is the south facade, and we just want to take advantage of that and created this sort of a beautiful intricate work, using these bricks laid in different patterns. Almost like this part of the curved wall, the brick is laid more like a fish scale, so it just keeps popping out, and there are these the crevices. What comes out really brings in a beautiful breeze, as well as a very subtle light inside this corridor. So it kind of conditions your mind when one walks in this corridor. We have given a small slit, a skylight on top, where the cross is kept, and it sort of washes the entire the surface with the cross. And even the backdrop also, what we have created is to worked with these lines which sort of runs over the wall on either side of the cross, and we've used bison board as a backdrop. Security and safety was one of the very important concern in this project. So they wanted to ensure that there is no way outsiders could barge in. They asked us to enclose this entire corridor with some sort of a grill system, and we took that as an opportunity to work out the grill in certain sort of a dimension, which again created a certain play of light and shadow. In terms of color, we used very neutral palette of beige on the main structure, and we have this white China mosaic on the vault, and we have a apron of brick wall around the chapel and at the entrance foyer. What we thought is that it will be nice to highlight these two towers. So we kind of got this painted in a bright ochre color. One of the primary focus in this building was to work on a very tight budget, because and also display the simplicity. These sisters have a very simple life, and it's very important for us to and as well as for them to reflect that simplicity, that austerity in the building what we have designed. So that's why we have used very limited finishes, and keeping all load-bearing walls. These are all concrete block walls, but specially designed to be used for load-bearing structures. scale was very pertinent for this project because as we see that the road is here, and we just gradually wanted to build the mass. So it's more like the long linear form of this, the vaulted part of the building is in the backdrop, wherein these little elements, the brick apron, the towers, they all sort of stand in the foreground. So this project was in some way sort of an effort to marry nature, or rather the built and the unbuilt.